Fresh from the disc microwavingly awful experience that was the eternal black hole of roads to victory, we get to move on to the 360 proper in Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare with Infinity Ward on the job this time, and although I'm saddened that Treyarch wasn't handed this one again, my slight disappointment dying instantly as the opening mission aped the Metal Gear Solid 2 opening, where we are infiltrating a cargo ship in order to find nuclear devices. The tutorial mission was exactly what it needed to be, a kickoff for the game to show that Infinity Ward wasn't just sitting around like 3D realms after COD 2. The graphics here are phenomenal, and with an almost exact same setup as Ground Zero since the effects technology had existed back then. Overall, it was an amazing introduction to the game with the mechanics and tone that they were going for, but Infinity Ward also proved here that it couldn't shake one monkey from its back, desperately clawing for no better reason than perfection is impossible, and that's having no cohesive plot whatsoever. Call of Duty 4 is a beautiful game that takes full advantage of the 360 capabilities at their midpoint, and the nuked parameters from previous iterations have allowed them to create some spectacular moments that show gaming what it's damn well made of, and while these set pieces do justify the game's existence, there is no context for them. Most of what happens in COD 4 ultimately goes without reason. Who the fuck is Al-Assad, a political usurper who we see for a whole 5 minutes and who ends up being the de facto villain in the game, which is as laughable as when cat ladies bow to their feline overlords, and was replaced about 2/3 of the way in by the guy who sold them the nukes in the first place, Imran Zakhaev, who was apparently doing the usurper thing in Russia, wanting to shake off the ties with America because being a successful businessman isn't enough for the poor sod. Now he wants to be king of the world because that's sure to make a world of profit. At this point writing the script, I've realized that this game is the perfect example of what the detractors of the CIA think they do when they involve themselves with foreign interests. Going with only the surface information on who's not playing ball with Uncle Sam, and fuck up the current regime who's doing so. The game never even says if the current Arabian leader was the one causing the civil war by being a general dick. I'd like for the game to bother with 10 minutes of its runtime to at least establish an antagonist rather than just have me assume it. I mean, Christ, Bowser was able to do this with one solitary text box on the N64. More to the point, the set pieces in this game are great. The mission in the past was a great example for future developers who want to do one of those cinematic sneaky sessions, but served as a total waste of time because the purpose of it was to show us shooting the Zakhaev doppelganger 15 years ago. So what was the point of the Al-Assad phone call setting this up? If you wanted to stretch the game out, why not put a mission connecting the Al-Assad and Zakhaev jobs together? You did this all the fucking time 60 years ago. And of course, the nuking of Paul Jackson in the middle of the game is the high moment of the whole 5.5-hour game, as total immersion was possible when crawling toward the mushroom cloud out of sheer curiosity, and drove the point home that these things are actually of apocalyptic power. And personally, I did like the radio tower falling in the later mission, since it reminded me of the hilarious Finn's Tower ending when he ended up cleaving the Candy Kingdom in half from half a mile away. The attack jet vehicle section was substandard, but if you have some sort of boiling rage against houses that can't defend themselves, then you'll enjoy it more than I did. Otherwise, the game mechanics have been perfected, and it's the usual cavalcade of repeating Nazis, this time being supplanted by a group of Russian and or Arabian insurgents, because of course they are, and the inclusion of always automatic guns now make firefighting a lot more hectic and unnerving, especially when it takes a good 5 seconds to wait for the blood to fall off your face, which is fucking excruciating when it happens 5 times a fight. Knock out the campaign in a weekend and enjoy the beautifully executed nuclear death scene followed up by pointless gun battles for the sake of pointlessness, and possibly save the day for the expansion of Western-led democracy in the Middle East. Listen to the completely genuine, baffling, fourth wall-breaking rap song done by Sergeant Griggs coming straight out of left field.
An Infinity Ward shit, don't soil your drawers, cause it's deep in the hard, bitch. Ready for action, 50 cal, start the clapping. 4 horsemen kicking the rerun, asking what's happening.
But then never think about it again. But as an example to future developers creating our next AAA gaming experience of first-day glitches, let me say this. Having a bunch of set pieces in your game and stringing them together is not a substitute for an actual plot, and as a general rule of thumb, it's a good idea to actually establish who your main enemy is at the beginning of the game instead of just throwing some names in the air and hoping for the best, because then you have a bunch of nobodies doing bad things in a game just for the reason of having bad things in your game. Ultimately, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is the equivalent of a cute coworker coming over and sitting across from you before they get up a little later and walk over to you to show you a bunch of shiny objects, and while you were interested in the Rolex and the crystal skull that they had, most of it was just average junk to you. Then the lunch ended and you were left there confused by their candidness. Mind you, it's a good distraction, but the why is lost, and thankfully I also didn't lose the scorecard for this game. Next time we'll be coming back to the, I guess, to be an expansion pack for COD 4, which will be the additional game made for the DS with the same name, and when the selling point for this game is summed up as the minor missions that support the main timeline in Modern Warfare, I already get a bad feeling, but since I don't know anything about the game beyond that, we'll just have to wait and see. Until then, so the last thing I've got for you viewers is your latest dose of victory for gamers. Have a good one.